America forces people to erase the history for the young people. How can they know what they don't get a chance to know? And I think I'm going to die, and if I don't have someone to inherit this shit, it's going to go into a dumpster.
Can we lose that light, Brian? Or are we going to need that?
All right, do I have to start all over?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. Let's get a sound check. Yeah, we got sound. You're hearing it? Yeah.
So I gotta say what I said before all over? Yeah. Okay, the way I met Jim Morrison is my ex-old lady Liz, the only woman I've ever been in love with, was in his class, and she came to me, said, I met this interesting guy in class, and you know, would you like to meet him? We became like a family, we became very close. He eventually lived with me for 2 months. And you know, for his first film, he asked us to be in it. So I was fighting with Liz, I was split with her, I wanted to kill her, but we made a commitment, and I keep my commitments regardless. And he said, she won't be anywhere near you. And this was shot in 1964 at UCLA in this building, and you'll see it. And then when he showed it, and this is not the second film that was in the Doors movie that was really controversial, and they really ragged on him and criticized him, and he got very pissed off at the film school because of that. And Mary Werbelow thinks that film doesn't exist on the planet. She thinks he burned it in a pile of stuff that she watched him burn when he left UCLA. And so I have the only existing film, and then I said, Jim, I'm in love with it, I want it when you're done. He easily gave it to me. And, you know, and so this is the film, and I'm now going to turn it on, and you'll see what it is. And you know, you can judge it for yourself. It's just a simple vignette, doesn't have any sound. And here we go. Oh man, that's the wrong. What the fuck? Oh, it must be in here. I'm sorry. This is my shot of Mary Frances, Jim Morrison's first love, who stayed loyal to him forever and still does. And this was taken in 1968 when she returned from Iran and India, where she was studying meditation. And she stayed with me in my mother's house, and I took these pictures on the beach in Long Beach, Long Island, and I loved that picture of her. And I needed someone to verify that Jim made the film because he didn't even put his name on it. And so I asked Mary, because we were old dear friends for all those years. We were like a family together when I was at UCLA, and she's fiercely allegiant to preserving Jim's memory and not letting anybody tamper with it. Oliver Stone, she wouldn't even talk to him, but she found him to be a cordial man when he made the movie The Doors. But then she froze on me. She said, that film is not even anything that Jim would be proud of. You can't let that out to the world. No. And she went ballistic at me, and she was yelling at me. I said, Mary, please let me read one poem. She went, oh, Max, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. That's you. Oh, God. And then, sadly, after that, she reverted back to not wanting to speak to me. When I started to be a poet, it was because I was in love with my first and only love, and I've never been in love again, and we were having problems, and I just started to write. And I also started to take pictures of her, and then it never stopped.
So it's goodbye, first love. And
I asked Jim to use my Brownie, which is in the bedroom. I had a Kodak Brownie to shoot pictures of me and Liz, and he took 3 beautiful pictures, which is, 2 of them are in there. Ginsberg couldn't handle me. I wouldn't bow to his will. Alan and I are sitting next to each other in a bar, and he said, Max, do you always have to scream your poems? You don't get peace by screaming. I said, Alan, did you ever hear of passion? Passion. I had to scream. Our arrogance is the obscenity of all history. I have him in his class gasping at an improvisation that I did. And you know, he just looked at me, and that was that. And that's me when I was a probation counselor in LA in 1965.
You were a probation counselor in Los Angeles in
Yeah.
'65?
Yeah. I don't want to get into this because it could get me into trouble. But my life was threatened by a prison gang, okay? And I needed to get a gun to carry around in case they ambushed me. I'd get one shot off, and this brother was going to loan me a gun. And this guy was fearless. And when the Angels fucked over his friend, Sonny Barger, the chief of the LA, the San Francisco, Oakland Angels, he walked into their garage with a pipe bomb in his hand and said, "Don't touch him." And they knew how crazy he was, and they let it loose. And then there's a guy named John DeBella that wanted to fuck my old lady, and that's a fight I got in. When DeBella came over to where Liz and I live, he brought Manzarek with him. And I said, "Hey, Ray." And DeBella was a 6'2" Italian guy that was trying to intimidate. He said, "Hey, I come from Brooklyn." I said, "Yeah, I come from Brooklyn too, man, okay?" So I basically told him, "Not until we're through do you dare touch her." And basically he violated that. When I found out, I went ballistic and I wanted to kill him. So I put 23 stitches in his face. So that was the only fight I've been in. Jim gave up his address to me. And eventually, when I asked him, "Why did you give it to me?" And he said, "Because Max, you were the avenging angel of death."
Morrison said that?
Yeah, that's why I gave you his address. It was the summer of '64, and I left UCLA without a diploma, and Jim needed a place to live, and my roommates went away, and there was room for 2 people, and a guy named Ronnie Cohn shared the bedroom with Jim, and he was there for 2 months, and we had a nice summer. That was just before he started being a door. His didactic, wanting to shock your universe out, and sometimes very gentle and wonderful, but like he used to like to read Passengers from Burroughs' The Naked Lunch just to gruesomely shock us because nobody knew that book at then. It's totally reflective of Jim's attitude towards life. That is him 1,000,000%. It's that disdain for anything that could ever stop him. I can take it all and you can't touch me. And he was wrong because he got touched by drugs and that's how he died, which is a tragedy. You have to be touched. You're not invincible. You who stared into the sun mocking it. I wrote that on his tombstone, and he was like that. But it wasn't oppressive. It was just his way. He wasn't heavy-handed about it. But that picture to me expresses the entire attitude of that. His body language, the whole thing is right there. That's why I really love that picture. I watched all these fraternity guys with these blonde California women riding the convertibles, and I was going, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm starved to death. How am I ever going to get next to some of these women?" I mean, LA, it's the blonde world, it's the convertible world, and I was having this Vincent, and eventually I traded the Vincent for a 1940 Triumph and a '48 Buick. And then I met a mad Misty, a wild woman at Barney's, that I took on my motorcycle, and she came back to my apartment, and we fucked, and she let me take these wild nude pictures of her. But other than that, I didn't find anyone. Because I was in love with Liz. I think I have her mohair sweater to this day. I don't know how I got it, but I think I inherited it somehow. I don't know if she's alive or dead. She had a brain operation. We split in '66. And when Jim was also split with Mary, he used to go to a place called Bogey's. It was the only place, a new place on the Sunset Strip that had wine and flamenco music. And one night, I was split with Liz, he was split with Mary, and I saw him through the smoke across the room. And I just looked at him, in this smoke-filled room, and there was Jim, and I just went, in my heart and head. Here we are. The one wonderful moment that we had when Rich Merrill, the guy that priorly lived there, Jim, Mary Werbelow, Rich's girlfriend, Liz, and I, we had a swimming pool because we lived at 2301 Roscommere Road for $250 a month at the top of Bel Air. And we were in an apartment building with a swimming pool. We all had a beautiful, wonderful day in the pool, and we made a big steak barbecue. And to me, that was the last moment of our innocence before we went out into the real world. That was a precious afternoon of just pure fun, friendship, and joy. We were in that same swimming pool, me and Jim, and this guy Dick Glantz arrived, and he said, we didn't know what acid was. He said, this is LSD 25, I want to tell you about it. So there it was, and and he told us everything that he felt about it, and Jim was into it 100%. I was skeptical. So it wound up that Jim's first trip that he took was with my ex, Liz, and then I felt I had to take acid alone. He made, I think, a successful film. He put that last thing of, jerking off the camera, and that was his little twitch. And more than that, if it ever shows anywhere, it's his first student film. He made it. There's a theme that completes its circle. I'm now going to turn it on, and you'll see what it is. You can judge it for yourself. Here we go. That's it.
Beautiful.